What is that?
That's the Toronto Mike theme song.
Toronto Mike. Oh yeah, Toronto Mike.
Love it. Welcome to episode 1161 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. StickerU.com. Create custom stickers, labels, tattoos, and decals. Palma Pasta. Fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees. The Yes, We Are Open podcast, a Moneris podcast production. The Advantaged Investor podcast from Raymond James Canada. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Ridley Funeral Home. Pillars of the community since 1921. Canna Cabana. The lowest prices on cannabis. Guaranteed. And Sammy Cone Real Estate. Ask Sammy any real estate questions at sammy.cone@properlyhomes.ca. Joining me today, returning to Toronto Mic'd, is both the author of The Longest Suicide, the authorized biography of Art Bergmann, Jason Schneider, and the subject himself, the myth, the man, the legend, Art Bergmann. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
Hello.
The myth, legend, still living.
Well, hey, right off the top, Art, that's a great starting point because this title, and I got the book here, and I read it and I loved it, and I think if everybody gets this in their holiday stocking, it'll be a good December. But The Longest Suicide, Art, you're very much alive. In fact, dare I say, you haven't looked this good in a long time, my friend. You look fantastic. What does this title mean, The Longest Suicide?
It's 2 words for life, my friend.
But suicide ends in death.
So does life.
Well, yeah. Well, I want to make clear that the title was Art's suggestion. And
yeah, it's all my fault.
And that as soon as I heard it, I knew it was perfect, and I didn't want to change it. My personal feeling about it is that it reflects a lot of the dark humor at the heart of Art's music. That's why I think it's so suitable. But I don't know what do you think, Art?
Yeah. Got it. I'm into love now, though, but love and kindness.
Love and kindness. And Longest Suicide. I hope it's a very long suicide, and that
2 more decades, I think.
Okay, good. I'm doing the math. That's pretty good, I think. If we get 2 more decades of Art Bergmann, we'll be doing okay as a nation, as a country.
I'm turning 70 next year. Unbelievable.
A lot of people lost a lot of money with the over-under on Art's life. Over 70, man. I hope you get into the hundreds, man. Keep going. There's some real talk in this book. We'll get into it, but my first big question before I get to Brad Wheeler's question is, Art, do you remember appearing on Toronto Mic'd in the past?
Yes, wasn't I on last year?
Okay, good. Okay. I'll just let the listeners
Brad Wheeler
know.
there?
What's that?
Is Brad Wheeler involved in this?
Brad listens to this program religiously, and he's listening to us right now. And in fact, I'll ask his question first, since I've already asked you if you remembered being on Toronto Mic'd. He wants to know, have you read this authorized biography on your life? Have you, Art Bergmann, read The Longest Suicide?
I read the first draft, made some corrections over some facts and figures, shall we say, and then my wife died, so I didn't feel like reading it at that time. But it's a beautiful book.
It is a beautiful book, and let me say right now, my absolute sincere condolences to you, Art, on the passing of your wife. I'm so sorry, man.
Thank you. all the love that's been pouring in has kept me going. And thank you.
Oh, I really felt for you when you were on my program last year. I remember how helpful Sherry was with even helping you with the Zoom and then different aspects of scheduling. For example, I would write her an email and here's the link and here's the time and everything. And I know she was your rock and you lost her far too soon. So of course I'm sorry. We're all sorry for you, man. But some great art came out of that sorrow. Are you comfortable with me playing a little bit of Death of a Siren?
Could you play it at the end?
Yeah, I can play it at the end. Absolutely. I'll save on to that one.
Yeah, she was my rock for 30 years in all my songs and was there. She was a warrior for me.
Let me tell the listenership right now that if they want to hear your first appearance, Art, and I remember your first appearance, you were shot out of a rocket because you were going off on Israel and accusing them of some act of terrorism. And I received at least one very detailed email from somebody who was uncomfortable by your comments. So always politically charged. But I'm going to tell people they should go back to episode 856. Mike. So that's your number, man. Now you're 1161 today, but you're 856. Mike chats with Canadian punk pioneer Art Bergmann about the young Canadians going solo, getting paid, and getting the Order of Canada. Do you have that medal yet, Art? You got the medal. Where is it right now?
It's in my bedroom drawer. My consort Patricia is getting it now.
Amazing.
And it's two tiny maple leaves. I'll try to enlarge them for you. But I'm going there. Well, I'm supposed to keep it a secret. But I'm going there soon, a couple of weeks, to receive a lunch.
You know, here's so kind of sad news that a former guest of this very program, Al Mayer, he's of course the co-founder of Attic Records and a man that most people in the music industry are well aware of, Al Mayer, but they actually gave him his medal on his hospital bed at Sunnybrook last week. So he got his medal and then he passed away.
Yeah. That's the way, not the way with me.
No, you got two more decades to go here.
Yeah, here's the
Okay, hold on. I'm taking a quick screen cap here. This is I want to get a screen cap here. Stand by.
Order of Canada.
Love it.
Call me Arthur CM. Canada member.
It must have blown a lot of minds though when the guy from the Young Canadians ended up getting that prestigious honor. That must have blown some minds.
Blew mine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we're still trying to figure out how it happened.
Maybe I'm trying to think. Maybe Bruce Allen. Who is it that nominated?
Great songs, great lyrics, great political charged fucking rock and roll.
All right, now, so Jason, you wrote The Longest Suicide. So can I ask you, like, why did you decide it was time to write the official biography of Art Bergmann?
Well, because his life is the greatest rock and roll story that hasn't been told yet, and it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. Thankfully, we had some people, part of Art's circle, really kind of motivated me, kicked my ass to get going with it, and it's really been kind of an intense past couple of years writing it and talking to people in Art's life and having long conversations with him. But yeah, I really feel this is the best thing I've done so far.
So Art, do you get like an email out of the blue from Jason that says, here's what I want to do? Would you work with me on this? How did you guys get connected on this?
I got a couple emails and then phone calls to talk about my life, as it were. I was fine with it. I mean, why not?
So how long? By the way,
Double records.
nice nails. Those.
Say what?
Let me see those nails again. Is that freshly done? That looks nice.
For yesterday's interview, but they're lasting.
Whose episode did you do yet? Like whose show did you do yesterday?
Who did we do yesterday? Oh, CKVU, Alberta.
Okay.
Are you testing my memory today, aren't you? Because I told Mulligan I forget nothing.
Okay, there's a man who was there with Bruce Allen. Maybe we can start there. There's so many places I could go with you, but I know you have to record some new music very shortly. But Bruce Allen, I'm trying to think now. So can you tell me what was your relationship like with Bruce Allen?
Non-existent, really. Jim Bescott, Young Canadians, thought it would be a good idea to approach him about management after we won Battle of the Bands that Bruce was a judge at, and he voted for us. So we walked in there, and he said, can you dress better than my guy? I got this guy in prison, man. He's fucking dead in his pants or something like that. And I said, yeah, we're way better than that. So, but I don't know if he even remembers talking to us. That's the extent of it, you know. What?
Well, okay. Well, so Terry,
the first draft went on about how they were interested in us, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I had to.
Sam Feldman that made that mistake.
Yeah, that was on me. I had to kind of make that correction, but it was Bruce's partner, Sam Feldman. He managed Art for a few years.
See, I think I got a really early draft, Art. So I'm looking at an early draft here. But so the reason I thought of Bruce, though, is because, of course, there's that documentary about making Tears Are Not Enough. And you got like David Foster's there with Bruce Allen. And sitting with those two guys, Terry David Mulligan.
Is there a problem there?
No. But now I'm wondering if you had a better relationship with Bruce, if you would have got the tap and said, hey, Art, we need you to be on this recording of Tears Are Not Enough. Like, where were you? You should have been right there with Leona Boyd and Geddy Lee.
What year was that?
85.
85? Oh. That was about my 15th year of being underground, so I don't think they'd be interested. You need the big names to sell records, especially for charity.
No, that's true. You wouldn't get like a full verse. Maybe they'd stick you in the chorus or whatever.
Well, you could ask about two other people who were involved in that were Bob Rock and Paul Hyde, and they have.
Oh, were they? Oh, well,
yeah,
they had a hit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was better looking than anybody there, so I don't know what the problem was.
Well, don't tell Mark Holmes that.
Oh my God.
He thinks he was pretty much...
The platinum girls. But I'm the girl now, guys.
You know, Mark Holmes arrived in a stretch limousine for a charity single for famine relief in Africa.
He's got long legs.
All right, my friend. So we learned you have...
We're going to just piss around joking here? What's the deal?
Well, this is it. We're
serious business, life and death here.
All right, well, let me take you way back then, because a good friend of this program is Brother Bill. He's on the radio. He was on the radio in Vancouver as Neil Morrison, but I know him as Brother Bill. And he's very interested in your South Surrey background. He lives in White Rock now. And he says, a few older guys around here have told me about its lore. This is the house that you used to hang out in South Surrey. Can you let him know that not everybody hated his Duke Street debut? Crawl With Me, The Final Cliche, and The Empty House are Canadian classics.
Who's Bill Morrison? Remind me.
Okay, Brother Bill was his name when he was on the radio in Toronto, and then his real name is Neil Morrison, and that's his radio name when he was on the Fox or whatever in Vancouver. But anyway,
Neil or Bill?
Yeah, you go. I'm going with Bill.
Okay, what did he want to know?
Not everybody. He wanted you to know that Crawl With Me, The Final Cliche, and My Empty House are Canadian classics.
Well, then you better play him on your show.
Do you want to take us back though about this house? He's heard the lore about this house in South Surrey. Can you just maybe
Well, actually, we lived in an apartment right on the beach, just kitty corner from the Hells Angels, who were down the tracks by Semiahmoo Park. They were known at the time as, well, before that time as Gypsy Wheelers, but they were a colorful bunch, I'll put it mildly.
He also wants to know, by the way, Brother Bill, if you would still want to go to fucking Hawaii, given the fact that there's some volcano has erupted on that on the Big Island.
Fantastic. I don't think I'll contribute to the colony of Hawaii's rip-off economy at the moment, anyway.
Great quote in this book about Hawaii. This is, of course, The Longest Suicide, the authorized biography of Art Bergmann. Jason Schneider wrote this forward by Michael Turner. But there's a great quote from you about how it sounds like you didn't particularly like the fact that Hawaii became so damn popular because you feel you wrote a lot better songs than that.
It's one of those songs that came in 5 minutes after I ripped off the title. But yeah, I saw a note at a friend's house in a blackout that said, "Let's go to fucking Hawaii," and I ran with it and wrote it in about 10 minutes. So the more shall we say nuanced songs get short shrift. What can I say? People are stupid.
That's a great story, by the way, Jason, in the book about the title in the book and how, this guy is like, "Hey, you stole that from me." I mean, you eventually got compensated, right?
Yeah, so he gets 50%.
Yeah.
I was reminded.
Yeah. Well, I guess that kind of speaks to how tight knit, the Vancouver punk scene was. At that time, all those guys were, were together a lot and kind of, working towards
the man's name is Ross
thing.
Carpenter.
Ross Carpenter. Yeah,
he was an active dog, beautiful named band, and kudos to him for not having me killed. But he gets 50% of all royalties from Hawaii now.
And that's just for inspiring, like, the title, right? Like, this is just like.
Well, that's all I remember seeing. Yeah, he had the song. I added a lot to it. I hope. Enough to make it a underground hit.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. Pretty awesome. By the way, a quick note came in from Dale Cadeau. He lives out west in BC as well, and he says, "Why is Art going to the same show as me to see Trailer Hawk and Robert Connolly? Curious as to why to what he likes about one or both of them."
Why am I going to that show?
Yeah, you going to see Trailer Hawk and Robert Connolly? This is a note I got. Is he out to lunch, this guy, Dale?
A little bit off on if I'm going to that or not, but I'm performing with Trailer Hawk at Lana Lou's December 18th.
Sounds Dale might have got his wires crossed there. Absolutely. So I'll move on to Hadley. What can you tell us about appearing in? You were in Highway 61, right?
Oh yeah.
Please bury me in some stories here if you can.
Stories about shooting of.
Yeah, appearing in Highway 61 with the great Tracy Wright.
Oh yeah. Well, I was playing at a little festival on Vancouver Island, and somehow they found me at the hotel we were staying at Coombs. It was on Vancouver Island, and on Sunday night they found me in a hotel and put me on a plane Monday morning to go do Iggy Pop's part because he couldn't do it in Highway 61, and we shot in Casa Loma, which was awesome fun. I got to shoot a 45 gun chasing chickens through the movie. It was fantastic. Bruce McDonald and crew and Tracy were awesome.
Amazing. Good friends of this show, Lowest of the Low. I had them in the backyard this past summer, and of course I mentioned that I finally got to talk to the great Art Bergmann on Toronto Mike, and then of course I got the story. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is just a little bit of
It's Ron Hawkins' birthday today. So
happy. You're right. Happy birthday, Ron Hawkins. What a coincidence. I'm going to play a little bit about this, and then we're going to just get the story again. But bear with me here. I will be playing more Art Bergmann after you leave to go make more music. But here's a little lowest of the low.
Hey, sad and blue, what are you gonna do? Blow yourself away, or tie up your own left shoe and walk out the door, ready to roar. And check your guns at the door. There's a man that you should see, Generation X Bukowski. He knows about life, life imitated art.
I'll bring her down now so we can hear you, Art. But Life Imitates Art. That jam is all about Art Bergmann.
Fantastic. I love Ron Hawkins. I love Lowest of the Low. I hear they're playing again.
I'm going to see them on December 3rd at Lee's Palace, actually.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to it. So this
Are they coming west?
You know, I never... Do they go west? It's funny, because I was going to bring this gentleman up later. Sammy Cohn, Kohn, everybody, drummer for The Watchmen. You played with him, right?
Yeah, he played with me at a show I did in Toronto, opening for Great Lakes Swimmers on Tony Decker's birthday. That was Tony's birthday present, me opening.
Yeah, and Sammy played on the last time you came out here too to do shows. I remember
Did
that
he?
too. Yeah, at the Horseshoe. That was a great night.
Well, Sammy, huge fan of yours, Art, and it was kind of a dream come true to get to play with you. And I know he's already reading The Longest Suicide because I was checking into Sammy. Sammy is a proud sponsor of the program, and he just loves Art Bergmann. But the reason I'm bringing up Sammy is because he came on.
If he loves me so much, he should quit the real estate business.
Well, this is your chance to get a message to Sammy. He's listening right now. Or tell Sammy to quit. Let me hear it.
My dad escaped the Russian Revolution, became a Christian socialist, but often he would mention that every third banker or real estate salesman should be shot to stop the rest of them. All in jest, my friends. All in jest. No one's going to join me in any revolution. I haven't made enough money to pay anybody.
Well, you and Ron would get along well, I'm sure. You and Ron Hawkins, because he told me his next vote's with a brick. He's ready to rebel.
Please, before you're as old as me.
Well, he's getting there. Happy birthday, Ron. Okay, now this is a important detail here. So the story I've been told, you just tell me if it's true. It is in the book, so I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with all this. But you got kicked off. This is like a Lollapalooza or something. What tour is this that you're going through the prairies and that you had to hitchhike your way to the next spot because you got kicked off the Greyhound? What's the story here? That Lowest of the Low caught you hitchhiking. Okay, go ahead.
The story is what was it? What was that tour called, Jason?
It was the Big Bad and Groovy tour headline.
Big Bad and Groovy featuring Boot Sauce.
Boot
Where
Sauce.
are they now?
They were the headliners. Yeah.
I've heard stories about Boot Sauce.
And Sons of Freedom.
And Vancouver band called Pure.
Oh, yeah.
Pure.
I remember Pure. So you got booted? Yeah.
The story is none of the bands would allow me on their buses. I don't know why. I can imagine some bad mouthing was happening, but
because you were a bad influence.
A bad influence. I mean, these people drink like fish. Me, I'm just looking for a downer. So they had me on Greyhound buses. They give me Greyhound bus tickets for all across Canada, and Regina, I think, was. I finally missed one.
Okay, I heard you got kicked off because you had an open bottle of wine.
No, what?
Well, that's what Sherry told me. Sherry told me you got kicked off because you had an open bottle of wine. But
No.
No. Okay.
Um, I got on the bus early because of the wine, so I went and dumped it. Anyway, um, I slept in one morning. I couldn't, it didn't make the cut, so I started hitchhiking. And or was it at night? Yeah, I think maybe at night. I was supposed to go overnight to Winnipeg, and so I started hitchhiking. And lo and behold, lowest of the low, lo and behold, we're going by the other way. I'm sure they were in a hurry to get to some fashionable restaurant, but they didn't turn around and pick me up. So I don't know how much solidarity there was that at that time, but I gave up and took the next Greyhound to Winnipeg. I missed opening without a band for that awesome tour in Winnipeg, first show.
So just to put a bow on that story, so lowest of the low, the guys are, they're going the other way, I guess, on the highway, and they see that someone's hitchhiking, and then I don't know if it was Ron or who, I think it was Ron. He said, "Hey, that's Art Bergmann." And he goes, and his quote is, "The other guys didn't believe me, and it wasn't until about a week later that we found out what was going on with Art on that tour. It really set me off thinking about how ridiculous it was that the guy who I considered the godfather of Canadian punk rock was hitchhiking at this point in his career. Here was someone who's given so much to the Canadian music industry, and this is how it treated him, kicking him down the highway." And then they wrote that song for the hallucigenia, the Life Imitates Art.
Yeah, that's part of my life.
So I know.
What can I say?
Well, there's a lot you've said, and thanks to Jason's biography here. There's a lot here, man, and it really is dense. It's rich, but you're a survivor, man. You said you're turning 70, and you've promised me at least 2 more decades, which I'm going to hold you to.
I didn't promise.
I
don't promise.
I recorded it. Okay, you're aiming for it anyway. So here we are, and I know you're off to record some new music, which is really awesome. And once you go, I'm actually going to play that beautiful song you wrote for Sherry, who you lost far too soon. Again, my condolences there. But at this point in your life, looking back, now that Jason's written the book on you, do you feel now like maybe now with the Order of Canada and all these accolades, you're maybe now getting your deserved flowers? Like now people are recognizing what you mean to this music industry?
People need to buy my music and listen to it and act accordingly. That's all I can hope for. The rest of this stuff is beautiful, and all the love coming in after Sherry's death is keeping me going, I must say.
Well, keep going, Art. Where specifically are you off to? Like, is there a studio you're off to put down some tracks or whatever? What exactly are you working on?
I'm going to see Robert.
Russell Broom. You working with him again?
Russell Broom.
Yeah.
He goes by Robert sometimes.
At his Broom Closet studio. Oh my God. And I just want to mention, yes, Trailer Hawk and Robert Connolly Farr, going to see that concert.
I think it's kind of funny that Dale thought you were just attending that concert, but you're fucking playing it.
No, yeah, okay. I'll play.
Details. Art, this is your second appearance. I hope it won't be your last, but again.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to bow out the last one. I was
you know what? Leave him wanting more, man. Leave him wanting more.
Who?
Yes. No, we'll be back. No, there'll be new music next year. So
yeah, working on the new album, and be out early next year. I mean spring. Done.
Before we lose this Zoom, Jason, any final good question here to leave us wanting more, which we can find in The Longest Suicide?
Okay, well, there's a famous, to bring it back to Hawaii. This is one question I don't think I asked Art, but there's a famous photo that we used in the book by Bev Davies of Art lying on a beach.
Oh, he's nude.
Totally exposed. I guess maybe a question might be, what was your thinking behind that original concept for that photo?
Idea for that was in bondage, tied up by the natives on the beach, waiting for ransom money. I thought it would be an awesome cover for Hawaii, but everybody chickened out on it. Show it.
As usual.
Yeah, where is it, Jason? Where is this photo? I want to find this.
Boy.
A lot of great photos in this book too. So
yeah,
you put in. Good job, Jason. Good content.
It's on
good
page
photos.
49.
All right. So here, let me hold it up here. Oh yeah. So
yeah,
looking
beautiful
good, Art.
boy.
Hey, Art. So here, man. I know you've written a lot better songs than this one, but on your way out, I am gonna play some Hawaii because
fantastic. People can't play it because apparently I say fucking.
Oh, that's my favorite part. Even I gotta say, I think I've caught the 6-year-old saying it with the F-bomb once or twice because I sing this one a lot. It's catchy as all fuck. But Art, thanks so much, buddy. Good luck with the new music, and I can't wait to hear it next year.
Thank you. All love to you. Kindness.
Mwah.
All right. See you soon, Art.
Bye.
Thousands on the run, making like the rich, heading for the fun. Let's go to fucking Tahiti, lounge on the beach. Those native girls are such a treat, swaying to the native beat. Running from the rain, thousands on the run, making like the rich, heading for the fun. 2 a.m., economy in, 747, jam to the rule, work all summer, save my money so I can be one. Let's go to fucking Miami, lounge along the beach. I got my little team of refugee, cheaper than a Georgia beach. Running from the rain, thousands on the run, making like the rich, heading for the fun. Let's go to fucking Las Vegas, go out wide in the sun. Non-stop 24/8, before I'm back under the gun. Running from the rain, thousands on the run, making like the rich, heading for the fun. 2 a.m., economy air, 747, jam to the roof, work all summer, save my money so I can be one. Let's go to fucking Hawaii. Let's go to fucking Hawaii.
Love it. That's Art Bergmann, everybody. Young Canadians. Jason's still with me here, so we knew we only had Art for 30 minutes, and we were Art heavy. We got our dose of Art Bergmann. Never a dull moment. But I've got you for at least another half an hour, right, Jason?
As long as you want me.
Listen, I'm cracking open a Great Lakes right on this microphone here. Which one's cold? Oh, it's over here. I moved it already. Okay, so I need a drink. Love Art Bergmann conversations. I never know where they're going. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I guess I can mention that. I mean, when you read the book, I made the, people will notice right away that I decided to separate Art's quotes from the main text, just because, he speaks in a way unlike anyone I've ever met, and I really wanted to kind of preserve his voice as much as possible.
Yeah, like I've only had the two conversations with Art, but I sometimes I find it like a little bit tough. Like sometimes I'm expecting more maybe, and I'll get like a 2-word answer, and I realize, I think that's all there is. But I think if I wait a little bit, there might be more.
Yeah, I think that's the key, the patience. You just have to...
Yeah, which I could do the patience, man. I'm good at the patience, but it's tough via Zoom because it's like in person, I can go like, I'll wait you out, man. Like I'll just look you down and wait you out. But via Zoom, it is so. Art's a guy I would love to get Art Bergmann in the basement one day.
Well, we'll see what we can do. Yeah,
And we'll get Sammy Cohn here for that too, because
that would be great. Yeah, yeah.
Although Sammy, of course, has met Art Bergmann. He played with him. Hey, because I mentioned I was going to do this earlier, and we're going to cover some more ground here, man. I got to give you some props too, Jason, because you're an unsung hero in this country, and I'll save some of that for a minute here. But Sammy Cohn Real Estate. Okay, I know that Art wants Sammy to quit his job as a real estate agent, but he's really good. Like I've been looking at, he's in the top 1% of realtors in Toronto, which is pretty damn good. So if you have any real estate questions at all, you can write Sammy.Cohn, Kohn, at properlyhomes.ca. And I wasn't bullshitting you, Jason, when I said he's already got his copy of The Longest Suicide. He's already diving in. That's how big a fan of Art Bergmann Sammy is.
Yeah, no, we had a great pre-order for the book a couple months ago. And this is the first time I've worked with Anvil Press in Vancouver. They've been great. The book looks great. We were talking about photos a minute ago, and they really pushed me to get as many photos for the book as I could. And I'm really glad they did it. I think it really paid off. I'm really happy with how it looks. Well,
shout out to Anvil Press. They published this thing. It's 168 awesome pages, and it's not your first book, but it's your most recent book. Again, The Longest Suicide, the authorized biography of Art Bergmann. He's a fascinating character, and he's a worthy subject. And I'm glad you're doing this, but I want to just shout out a couple of other Jason Schneider books, because I think you're quietly documenting some of this amazing Canadian music stuff that doesn't necessarily get as much attention as it deserves. I'm trying to shine a light on all this, but a lot of times I'm only able to shine a light on this stuff because you got there first, man. So I'm here to just give you your props. I think you're an unsung hero in terms of documenting our Canadian music industry.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you. That's high praise for sure.
Praise from Caesar.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I heard it on The Simpsons once. Praise from Caesar. And I've been saying it ever since, and I don't quite know what it means. But let's shout out. Okay. It doesn't really matter, I guess. But yeah, if you could pull down the bottom part here. Okay, your production on the fly here. But let's talk about two of your other books, okay? Because one of them, I have a agenda here. We talked about Brother Bill, and it's all going to come together. You wrote Whispering Pines, The Northern Roots of American Music.
Right.
I think, and I think that's means you're the guy I'm looking for. I've tried a gentleman you put me in touch with, and we were ready to go. But then when I pitched specific dates and times, in a minute I'm going to explain what I'm talking about, everybody. But I pitched certain dates and times and never heard back. I don't know if it got lost in spam or whatever. But I'm thinking when Cam Gordon, Brother Bill, and I meet on Zoom one day soon to talk about the history of country music in Canada, I need a guy there. I need the Hank Snow guy. You know what I mean? I feel like you're my guy.
Well,
I know you're focused on I know you're hyper focused on Art Bergmann right now, but at some point that calms down, right?
Oh, sure. No, I love talking about early Canadian country music. I mean, there are other people out there, older gentlemen who have been more involved in this world than I've been, but
you get the show.
Yeah.
Here I'm doing my sales pitch, but we're looking for a guy who could. So I have somebody who's going to kind of jump in and get us when Garth Brooks and Shania Twain are kind of, so I have somebody ready who was the program director at KISS 92.5 when it was CISS, and I'm looking for somebody to kind of get us there, and the be it Stompin' Tom or Hank Snow and everything in between. I'm just looking for somebody who knows their stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Is that a commitment?
Yeah.
Now that we're live in this unedited podcast here. Okay, so everybody, that's Whispering Pines, The Northern Roots of American Music. And Michael Barclay's been over a few times. He's a great FOTM. He's coming to at least one TMLX event. In a minute, I'll tell everybody about an event we're having on Saturday. But this book, Have Not Been the Same, The Can Rock Renaissance, 1985 to 1995. You're a co-author of that book.
That's correct. Well, that's kind of where it all started for both Michael and I. I guess to go back to the beginning, we the two of us started out together at a little magazine based in Guelph in the early 90s called ID magazine, and we were it was based in Guelph, but we were kind of like the alt weekly for
You were the Now magazine of Guelph. Is that what you're telling me?
No, but even further, we were the kind of vision for the magazine was to be like the Now for every kind of university town west of Toronto. So we were in Hamilton, we were in London, we were in Windsor. And it was amazing times. Like, Michael was the music editor. I was doing some local news and some music writing, but anyway, at one point it was always kind of my dream to write a book about Canadian music, and here we were, kind of the mid 90s, just this prime time of all these great Canadian bands doing stuff, and we were writing about them constantly. And one day I just took Michael out to lunch and said, look, we're talking to all these bands, why don't we try to put all this together in a book and craft a story around it. So he got on board right away, and then he mentioned one of the freelancers at that time, Ian Jack. He was a huge fan of everything that was going on in the East Coast at that time. Sloan, all the Halifax bands, and Thrush Hermit, yeah. And Ian was also really interested in the Montreal scene too. As well as kind of Vancouver network records. Sure. Anyway, so we were all kind of in our early 20s and didn't know any better. So we were like, well, if the three of us kind of, put our heads together, we can make this thing happen. And over the course of about 4 years, we did, and the end result was that book.
So what was your role in the sequel, Hearts on Fire?
Well, that was all Michael. So he kind of did that all.
He went solo
himself. Yeah, well, I'd done Whispering Pines before that. That was 2009, I think. But yeah, that was sort of my intention to, write a book kind of like telling more of the backstories about the great Canadian songwriters.
Love it.
Dating back to the beginning with the earliest country music. So now, Michael. Yeah, I never even thought about it while I was doing it, but now Michael sort of considers Whispering Pines kind of the prequel,
right, to
Have Not Been the Same, and then his book Hearts on Fire is.
Although he skips 5 years, it shouldn't bother me, right? Like I should, but it seems to be triggering some kind of OCD or something, because. Yeah, like Hearts on Fire is 2000 to 2005, I believe. But Have Not Been the Same, that's 85 to 95. So we're missing 96 to 2000.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I can't even think of what happened during those 5 years.
That's all blur to me, man. It's all the same. All right, so we mentioned, so those are the other books. I want to get back to Art Bergmann, but here, this might be fun for FOTMs right after I give you a few gifts. So it's a long drive for you. Art was great. We got our 30 minutes of art. Art's the kind of guy I feel like a 30 minutes of art is like that's like a good dose of art. Like I thought that was fantastic. You're not leaving here without a large lasagna from Palma Pasta.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come in person, I have to admit.
But wait, there's more. So I'll get back to Palma because I got to talk about TMLX 11 in a minute here. But you've already cracked open at Great Lakes. Even though I like it on the mic, you cracked open before I press record. I've cracked one open, but you're bringing home some fresh crafted beer from Great Lakes Brewery. Shout out to GLB. Palma Pasta, I'll get back to them in a minute. Thank you, Sticker U, for your continued support. If anyone needs stickers, decals, temporary tattoos, so much great stuff you can order at stickeryou.com. podcast.com. You just upload your image and you get it delivered safely to your door. It's awesome, high quality, and they're great people. Love those guys. And there's a music connection there too, because Andrew Whitkin, the founder of Sticker U, his dad, Barry Whitkin, was a founder of the Purple Onion in Yorkville. And that's where, ready for this? Are you sitting down? Because it all comes back to Tears Are Not Enough and Terry David Mulligan. But Buffy St. Marie wrote the soldier, unknown soldier, right? Yeah, the unknown soldier. Is that
the Universal Soldier?
The Universal, yes. Unknown Soldier is a different song. Okay. The Universal Soldier was written in the Purple Onion in Yorkville by Buffy St. Marie. And when Terry David Mulligan was on Toronto Mic'd, I asked him, we had no Art Bergmann on that. We should have had Art, but we should have had Buffy St. Marie. Where was Buffy? And I got the story of Bruce Allen getting the call and then putting down the phone and looking at Terry David Mulligan and saying, Buffy bailed. That's what he said. And I've been using that expression as well. Like when somebody, can't make the concert tonight or whatever, Buffy bailed. So it's all coming around full circle here. There's a speaker there for you.
Okay.
Box. Yeah, that little brown box. That's yours, buddy. So
oh, wow.
That is courtesy of Moneris. I actually recorded last week with Al Grego. Al Grego is an award-winning podcaster, and he hosts that his program for Moneris. And I'm going to get the details here in a second. It's called, and I know this because I've said it now 60 times, Yes, We Are Open. That is the podcast. Al's been telling the stories of Canadian small businesses and their perseverance in the face of overwhelming adversity. Everyone can subscribe at yesweareopenpodcast.com. So you can you can listen to that great program on your new wireless speaker. Jason.
Yes, I absolutely will. Thank you.
Yes, Jason is open, he's telling me. Earlier today, I actually recorded with Chris Cooksey from Raymond James, Canada. He's the host of the Advantaged Investor podcast, featuring insights from leading professionals. The Advantaged Investor provides valuable perspective for Canadian investors who want to remain knowledgeable, informed, and focused on long-term success. I'd love to hear what Art Bergmann has to say about the Advantaged Investor podcast. You want some real estate agents, investment? Yeah, I would love to hear it. But there's a couple of good podcasts for you and one more for the road here. Life's Undertaking is a podcast from Brad Jones. He's the funeral director at Ridley Funeral Home. And I get to co-host this show, and it's always great fun. He's back here tomorrow, actually. So subscribe to Life's Undertaking if you need more Toronto Mic'd in your life, or if you just want to hear from Brad, who, honestly, we talk about life, we talk about death. It's always spiritually fulfilling. I highly, highly recommend it. And last but not least, Jason, do you smoke weed?
Well, I guess, yeah. Now I can say publicly, yes.
Oh, it's legal. Yeah. You're so used to keeping that on the down low, right? Well, Canna Cabana will not be undersold on cannabis or cannabis accessories. And they have over 140 locations across the country. So buy your weed and your accessories at Canna Cabana, proud partners of this very program. Okay, back to Art.
Yeah.
Now Art's not here, and let's face it, Art's never going to listen to this podcast. And we all love Art Bergmann. This book is great. I was worried about Art because I knew how close Art was with Sherry. It's Decembrini, right? Decembrini? Yeah. It's like December, but Decembrini.
Yeah.
She only passed away in March.
Yeah.
I remember tweeting about it, and really legitimately, like for a man I only spoke to for like an hour, I was legitimately worried about Art Bergmann after losing his wife there. So you obviously started this project well before Sherry passed away. You got some information from her and interviewed her. Can you give us a little insight? Because I'm going to play this wonderful song Art wrote about when he mourned his wife, Sherry Decembrini. But how was Art in this period?
Well, first of all, I got to say that, yeah, I couldn't have written the book without Sherry's input. She was just, I think we did a couple interviews and they were really lengthy, and she was extremely open and forthcoming about everything. So, yeah, I think a lot of the facts in the book she was able to corroborate. but yeah, so I think by the
Like this photo here, I'm going to show the
Yeah.
camera, but like this photo, man, it's heartbreaking because she was very young. Like this wasn't, she was young, and I mean, I'm not involved in their personal life, but I understand this was a very sudden death. This wasn't like Al Mayer receiving his Order of Canada on his deathbed. This was a very sudden.
well, they met in 1990, and they were married a year later and stayed together the whole time. So 30 years. Like Art said, she was his rock. She kept him going through a lot of Art's health issues, which we didn't really go into, but Art suffers from osteoarthritis, and he's had spinal surgery, and a lot of painful years of dealing with that.
Deteriorating discs in his back. That he was almost paralyzed by this.
Yeah, that's right. So she was essential helping him cope with that. But so by the start of this year, I'd pretty much had the book finished, and I'd sort of envisioned all along that it was going to have kind of a relatively happy ending, with him.
Even though it's called The Longest Suicide.
Yeah, well, that was part of kind of the dark humor,
sure,
with that title. But
and I mean, again, we talked about the deteriorating discs in his back, but there's a lot of information and a lot of real talk in here about his heroin addiction.
Yeah,
like the fact the fact he's turning 70 is amazing. I think, I don't think you would have predicted that decades ago.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say yes to that, but considering what's happened to a lot of his peers, it's incredible excuse me, that he's made it this far, but so I had the ending of the book written, and then I just the one day in March, I got an email from Art just saying that Sherry had died the night before, and it was obviously just a complete shock to everybody. And of course, first priority was how he was going to deal with it and who was going to help him. But then, after a few weeks, I had to face the reality that I had to rewrite the ending of the book somehow to reflect this. So it was a pretty tense couple of months, and Art and I went back and forth quite a bit about the ending. I'd keep sending him drafts, and he'd send me back notes, and till finally, we came up with something that he was comfortable with, and I thought, was something that gave Sherry her proper due, and thankfully, and that's the way the book is now.
Like, part of my legit sincere concern for Art was beyond the fact that a loved one, like somebody who's he was madly in love with, had passed, but he's, in my brief experience of Art, he seemed awfully dependent on Sherry for things like, it was her email address that the info went to. She was there to make sure his Zoom was working. Like, I kind of met her that way, because she was the technical support, and Art really leaned on her. And wow. And from this awful, tragic happening to Art, and this is often the case, and shout out to Leonard Cohen, who talks about the cracks. That's how the light gets in. That obviously is that sentiment was an inspiration for this song here, but he kind of invokes Leonard Cohen's line there. But let's listen to this song, "Death of a Siren," which Art Bergmann wrote for his late wife, Sherry Decembrini.
these fields, hungry ghost, drinking sunlight, overdose, kiss of the syringe, cut through the scars, glimpse of heaven, cold night stars. People here can't see where they're going weird. They don't understand, they condemn and fear. She smiles, they demand her name. I'm the witch you burned in flames. There is no crack, let's in the light. There is no light to bridge this dark divide. Grief is the prize, you stay alive. Let's do it your way.
There is no crack that lets in the light. There is no light to bridge this dark divide. Wow. Okay, my friend here. That was some heavy stuff. It's a beautiful song. Came out of the sadness. Death of a Siren. It's good to hear some new art, though, and it sounds like there's some new art coming next year.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this song's gonna be included, but yeah, if you want to hear the full thing, it's available on Art's Bandcamp page.
Absolutely, and there's a great video on YouTube directed by Kenneth Locke as well.
Yes, absolutely.
It's got that black and white visuals there that goes along with the song. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Jason, I already gave you your props for writing these great books, and I really think you're kind of like, you're doing something that I truly respect. Like, you're documenting a lot of our, like, everyone could, I talked to a guy, speaking of Leonard Cohen, and it's great. He writes I was just in Montreal, and they got the great mural now of Leonard Cohen. Okay. So there are great books on Leonard Cohen. There you can, Joni Mitchell, Rush, Neil Young, right? But you're kind of covering some of the topics that might have less attention on them. I think what you're doing is very important. But you've also had an influence over episodes of Toronto Mike. So we're going to spend some time here. All right. This is the ongoing history of Jason Schneider on Toronto Mike. Because you told me earlier this is the first time you were a guest on the program, right?
An official guest, I would say.
Yeah, like you got, you're my guest right now. Okay.
Yeah.
How many times have you visited the TMDS studio? Either in the backyard or down here in the basement?
Well, definitely twice prior to today.
Okay, so this is your third visit.
Yeah.
Remind everybody, who were the guests the first two times you visited here?
Well, the first time was it was a beautiful summer's day. I came with Blue Rodeo keyboardist Mike Boguski, and
wow,
we hung out in the backyard. Mike had his poor little portable keyboard and did a little jamming back there. I think your neighbors like that.
I remember. I'll never forget that day when Mike. Remember, he went to my high school, and I knew his brother Mark. But Mike Boguski played Diamond Mine, and it was amazing. And yeah, that was in the pandemic. You weren't seeing any live music. Like, there were neighbors that were like hooting and hollering and enjoying the show. So thanks for doing that. Great to have him on the program. Subsequently, I've been to the Woodshed to interview Jim Cuddy, and I let him know that Mike Boguski is also an FOTM. That's thanks to you. Who else came on Toronto Mike that you accompanied?
Yeah, the last time was with John Bora, the great Toronto singer-songwriter. I remember that. Yeah, that was right at the beginning. I know it was right after New Year's, I think last year, I guess.
But he's another unsung great in this place. Like John Bora, who was amazing. He played live. It was a great conversation, so thanks for setting that up.
Yeah.
He deserves more love.
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of that, he actually just released a new record called it's called Cassettes in Common, and it's a fascinating concept actually, because it's all songs written by kind of obscure Toronto singer-songwriters from the 80s and 90s who John knew or had connections
Amazing.
to. So it's all these great songs that really I can't imagine too many people have ever heard, but John wanted to get them out there to people and do his own versions. He actually does cover one of Art's songs as well, a song called Sleep. But yeah, I think anyone who knows the name, well, he does an early Ron Sexsmith song. I think a song off of Ron's.
It's FOTM Ron Sexsmith.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, FOTM Ron Sexsmith. Yeah, I think he does a song off Ron's first indie cassette. And then, if people know the names, Kip Harness, Sam Larkin, Johnny McLeod, these people have just been, part of the Queen Street scene forever. It's definitely an album you want to check out. It's called Cassettes in Common.
I just realized you only put guests on this program that have surnames that start with a B. Okay, so you got Boguski, you got Bora, and you got Bergman.
Well,
okay, but before we before we go beyond those three, I will take this opportunity to say John Bora played in Change of Heart, right?
Correct.
Ian Blurden dropped by last summer, and he was awesome. I just want to, and you're not going to get credit for the Ian Blurden because I contacted him directly here, but Blurden was just fab, and he's another B, so he could be somebody you work with because that's our fourth surname that starts with B. As mine does as well. So that's all we had led on the show. So beyond Boguski, Bora, and Bergman, who else is somebody that you tapped me on the shoulder and said, you should probably talk to this guy or this gal, sorry. Because I know the most recent one is actually a gal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Lily. Yeah. Lily, your last guest was the great Lily Frost. She was on a couple weeks ago.
Lily, I enjoyed my conversation with Lily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and then just prior to that was
her ex-husband.
Yeah, her ex. yeah, Jose from By Divine. Well, okay. Well, if you want to count By Divine Right as another B, there you go.
That's right.
But
and I will. Too bad Lily Frost is not a B, but I've enjoyed all those episodes: Boguski, Bora, Bergman, By Divine Right, if you will, and Frost. I enjoyed them all.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you did.
And do you work with these people? What capacity do you work with? So you write these books, and then you also work with artists in some kind of a PR capacity?
Yeah, well, it's I guess that's just sort of the way the music business has kind of evolved over the last 10 years. I was doing a lot of writing. I worked at Exclaim magazine for a long time. I was assistant editor there. Eventually, the way the business has kind of turned, it's hard to make a living, just being a music writer. While I know you've had a lot of my colleagues on the show too, Ben Rayner and,
yes,
people like that.
Ben's overdue for another visit, actually. We did a series in a row. He was very honest about some struggles he had, in his life, and love that guy. Yeah,
me too, for sure. And so yeah, I mean, making a living as a music journalist, it's there's very few people who are able to do that anymore these days. So eventually, I guess it was about maybe 7 years ago now, I just kind of transitioned into working directly with artists and trying to promote their music as best I could, and using my connections in the media world to help do that. Because I mean, I think there's more great music being made today than there ever has been, but it's just harder to discover it, right? Because to cut through that noise. Absolutely, the number of outlets out there is, I mean, there's tons of music blogs, but for really kind of serious discussion about music, there's not a lot of it out there right now in Canada. So that's kind of what I transitioned into doing. This template, if you will, like if you're anything like me, and I think we have a lot in common actually, but there's no blueprint, right? You just sort of
you're writing the blueprint, right? Like you're designing this template of what does Jason Schneider do, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm kind of doing the same thing, which is very liberating and awesome. But I feel this template that you've kind of created here is something, and again, I never talked to this gentleman about it, and maybe he'll get mad at me for even suggesting it, but dear FOTM, in fact, he's a FOTM Hall of Famer, Cam Gordon, no longer at his 9 to 5. Okay, there was some, I won't go into details, but it was a very public happening that you might have read about in the news. Okay, so he's at one of those transition, like those crossroads that we all kind of encounter in our professional lives. I actually think Cam Gordon would be amazing at what you do. Like, I'm not saying he could be ever better than you, but I feel he's cut from that cloth as well, where he could be writing books that cover some of these spots in the Canadian music landscape, and he could be kind of representing artists and helping them get exposure for their music and stuff. I feel like this is something Cam should explore. I'm just spitballing here, man. I don't even need a reaction. I'm just thinking out loud about Cam Gordon. Okay, so shout out to Cam Gordon. Let's talk for a moment about Brad Wheeler.
All right.
Because I know you guys talked to Brad recently, right?
Yeah, well, actually, Brad. No,
he just review the the book?
He wrote a really great review of the book that was.
It's funny. I literally tweeted. This is what I. So I went to Twitter, and there's the T word. I went to Twitter and I wrote, "Any questions for Art? Let me know. Art Bergmann's coming up. Have any questions or whatever?" And then literally the tweet after I tweeted was somebody retweeting a Globe and Mail article where Brad reviewed the book. Like I saw that right away. So I'm just going to take a moment to praise Brad, because Brad recently wrote a great obituary about the passing of Al Mayer, who I mentioned earlier was a founder of Attic Records and a big deal in the Canadian music landscape. And Al Mayer was on Toronto Mic'd in July, and it was great. I just dropped that in the feed like this on Sunday, remembering Al Mayer. There's a quote from Al in our conversation, and many a journalist or many a person has sort of like got their info from a Toronto Mic'd episode and put it in their piece, and that was it. Like, and I know where they got it from, but they don't cite it. And I just want to let Brad know how much I appreciate the fact that he literally wrote in the piece, as Al Mayer said on the Toronto Mic'd podcast. Like, he actually referenced this source. And I think that's very cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, So
shout out to Brad.
Well, it's, since we're, kind of patting each other on the back. No, I got to say, you've become a force in Canadian music media. You've become a destination.
I love that. I love it. I love that compliment too. I appreciate it very much. All right, so everybody has their marching orders here as we wind down. So we got our half hour with Art. We did over half an hour more with Jason Schneider. The book is called The Longest Suicide, the authorized biography of Art Bergmann. And I've read it, and it's dense and full of good information about Art. Like, again, I know he didn't really, I guess he did a little bit, but I know Brother Bill was trying to get him to go back to the Surrey White Rock roots there, but the journey starts kind of there. And
there's definitely, you can get a full dose of it when you read the book, for sure.
Yeah. And there's a lot of talk, the K-Tels, and of course the Young Canadians, and then all the solo stuff. And it's just full of like very interesting information about Art, his battles, the addiction. He has his addiction battles and the back issues that almost paralyzed him. And of course, you had to rewrite the ending, sadly, about the death of his wife, his beloved wife, and just, what a story. And I know Hawaii's got the F-bombs in it left, right, and center, but that doesn't stop me from singing along. I absolutely, and I don't care that there's that great quote in your book where he's bothered by the popularity of Hawaii because he's written a lot better songs. He hasn't written many more catchy than Hawaii. That song still rips.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I've been trying to sort of, put out to people, while we've been doing these interviews is that, I mean, Art's writing has truly evolved over the last 30 years. I mean, the stuff with the Young Canadians is incredible.
Well, he was a kid, right? Like,
but it was, you can listen to that stuff on his own, But then, following his evolution through the 80s and 90s to those great albums he made, and then I think, the last two records he's made, The Apostate and Late Stage Empire Dementia, I think they're some of the best music he's made in his life, both from a lyrical and musical standpoint. He's really been, exploring new things and working with some great people. So yeah, no, this isn't just the story of a guy who had his moment 30 years ago. This is someone who continues to consistently make incredible music.
And he's got 2 more decades to go. So imagine all the great stuff we're gonna get.
Absolutely.
Jason, you're a hell of an FOTM, and I appreciate you, buddy.
Right back at you, Mike.
I love it. You know what? This should be every episode where we just pat each other on the back. It feels good, right? Like, it feels good here. It feels good here. That was awesome. And arranging for Art to join us was the icing on the cake, the cherry on the icing. Always a pleasure to talk to Art. You never know what you're gonna get. Like it's interesting to me. It's sometimes you have a guest and it's all paint by numbers. You can almost predict exactly how it's gonna go, and it unfolds that way. And then you're like, yeah, okay, next or whatever. But with Art, you kind of get excited before he comes on. Like, I don't know where this will go. I don't know what mood he's gonna be in. And I can tell you right now, having spent that half an hour with him, he might have hated that thing. I have no clue. I have no clue. He's like, what are we going to do? What are we doing here? I think was one line I got in the middle of that conversation. And I'm like, I don't know. We're doing it. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing it right now. And thanks for setting that up, buddy.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,161st show. You can follow me on Twitter. This is the second lowest of the low song we played today. Lots of low on this program. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. Jason, let's start with you. How can we follow what's happening in the world of Jason Schneider?
My website is jasonschneidermedia.com. I am still on Twitter.
I'm actually enjoying it more than ever because it's like kind of exciting to see it kind of go up in flames.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a very strange feeling being on there right now. But
I'll be there as long as you are.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna try to hold on till the bitter end.
Let's go down off the ship.
But I did just sign up to Mastodon.
See, I actually almost did, and then I realized I just don't see it happening. Like, I think if it doesn't work out on Twitter because it blows up and disappears, which is unlikely, but if it disappears, I'll just go back to my little cozy home at torontomike.com where I lived before Twitter. That's my plan. So if Twitter goes down tonight, go to torontomike.com for more information.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah.
So what's your handle? John Schneider Media? What is it?
J Schneider TO. That's on Twitter and Mastodon.
Okay. That's everywhere there. Okay.
Yeah.
Art's at Art Bergmann. And just remember, there's 2 N's.
Yes.
And I did get a question from Gene Velitis about the 2 N's, but I think he was being silly, so I skipped it. But anyway. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery. Say that word for me, Jason.
Oh, well, I was actually going to shout out to Gene Velitis if he happens to be listening.
He might.
I was a avid listener of the 6 o'clock Rock Report for years and years, and yeah.
Shout out to Mako Sr.
Yes, and Mako Sr., yeah.
Some guy named Derringer was there too at some point there. But yeah, I was a Q guy too for a long time. So shout out to the mighty Q. And the late, great Scruff Connors. On that note, Ridley Funeral Home at Ridley FH. Palma Pasta, I didn't get into this, but I'll just tell people right now. TMLX 11, I meant to get into this. December 3rd, from noon to 3 p.m., we're going to be on the 2nd floor of Palma's Kitchen. It's kind of near Mavis and Burnham Thorpe in Mississauga. Get your butts there at noon. Come up to the 2nd floor. We're going to be recording live. You can jump on the mic. It's going to be amazing. TMLX 11, be there. Moneris is at Moneris. Raymond James Canada are at Raymond James CDN. Recycle My Electronics are at EPRA_Canada. Canna Cabana are at Canna Cabana _. And Sammy Cohn Real Estate. They're at, he's Sammy Cohn, Kohn. see you all tomorrow. And my guest is Julian Taylor.
Ooh.
See you then.